How y'all doing, you guys? Welcome to the Bayou Ballers podcast. We are live here now on NBA trade deadline day. Trade deadline is over, but I'm your host Tay. My guy over there, brother Trey. How you doing today, bro?
Well, I feel great because speaking of trade deadline, there is a Fox running around in San Antonio, and he had one hell of a debut last night. So
Swiping no
yeah,
swiping, huh?
feeling real good.
Yes, y'all. We are live. The trade deadline was crazy. We here to get into most of the moves, the big moves, small moves. And we're gonna talk some Super Bowl towards the end. Y'all know the Super Bowl is Sunday. Disclaimer, my baby is in the house. So I'm gonna let you take over the hosting. There you
Yeah,
go.
yeah. Hey man, as we know, the trade deadline was crazy. If y'all didn't catch our kind of emergency live episode when we talked about the Luka Doncic trade to the Lakers, y'all got to go to our YouTube channel, watch that, man, because that was a good one. I think we fully recovered a little bit, especially for your boy. And the next day we got the Aaron Fox to San Antonio Spurs trade and got to see him play Thursday. So it was all good. But before, if y'all, after y'all listen to us on this live, make sure y'all hear what we had to say about the Luka trade to the Lakers, because I know somebody gonna be watching this and say, "Man, how y'all didn't hear talk about the
All right,
best
we had
trade
a
or the
whole
biggest
episode.
trade of the thing." Hey, we had an episode solely dedicated to that trade and how we felt. So make sure y'all catch that.
Right, and we broke down every perspective: AD, Luca, Lakers, Mavs, LeBron. But I'm about to pull up the trade tracker so we can go through
Yeah.
some of these deals and see what deals stood out to you, brother. I'm about to pull this up for you guys. It's on NBA.com, and they show most of the trades. Obviously, the one that kicked everything off was February 2nd when we talked about Luca to Luca to the Lakers, Anthony Davis to the Mavs, of course. Then we get to the next domino. Your guy, what we also talked about just now. You touched on it a little bit, but Fox happened right after we got off live that day.
Right
About
after,
about
literally.
10 minutes. Look, you tagged me in something about Fox and Trey Young, and I was literally about to say I would rather Trey Young if I was the Spurs
Yeah.
because of his passing ability and things like that. But before I even got the comment, I said, "Oh damn, deal done." Shams tweeted right. Shams tweeted, but the Spurs get De'Aaron Fox. I'm sorry, y'all.
Mhm.
And what is crazy is Kings get Zach LaVine, of course. Bulls receive a lot of spare pieces, and they get their first round pick back from the Spurs this year, which was top 10 protected, and
Yeah.
so they don't have to worry about that anymore. They will have their pick, but Kings get 6 picks, 3 second rounds, 3 first round picks via Hornets and Timberwolves. But I wanted to say this: a lot of speculation was going on that you guys were going to have to give up a sale or Chris Paul. A lot of chatter was going that Stephon Castle was off the table, basically.
Mm-hmm.
Y'all got this deal done without giving up anything. Basically, Chicago valued their first round pick a lot.
Mm-hmm.
And you gave the Kings a pick, I believe, if I'm looking at it correctly. Yeah, y'all gave
Yeah.
them y'all 2027 first, but y'all didn't give up Vassell, Keldon Johnson, Harrison Barnes, um, anything. What do you think about this trade, man? And I'm gonna mute y'all because my baby here.
For every bad thing I said about Brian Wright, who's the general manager of the San Antonio Spurs, I take it back because this was a fleece among fleeces. Honestly, I feel like you got to give some credit to what happened with the Lakers and the Mavs trade because the Lakers got Luka for nothing really, and I think once a 25-year-old superstar who's been to the NBA Finals doesn't fetch like ridiculous price, I felt like the asking price for De'Aaron Fox kind of went down because at the very least, I felt like we were going to lose somebody. I figured it wasn't going to be Stephon Castle, but I thought, hey, they might want Devin Vassell. They may want Keldon Johnson. You know, thought we was going to have to part with maybe a few more picks, but the fact that we were able to keep the Hawks picks that we have, I think spoke volumes. So there's a chance that the Spurs may still end up with the number one overall pick when it's all said and done. And
Don't
so
say that. Don't say that.
for Brian Wright to be able to do that and you don't lose your core at all,
Mm-hmm.
which I think, one makes Wemby happy that he still gets to play with the guys that he came into the league with. But also
Mhm.
you add De'Aaron Fox, who is one of the best point guards in the league.
Yep.
Not only plays offensively great, but he also will take on a challenge defensively. Took on the
Definitely
challenge to
would.
defend Trae Young last night. So
Mhm.
definitely is going to help speed us up a lot more. I think
Yes.
you're not going to have, I mean, and look, I love Wimby, but he's still young. And so there's moments where, he's not getting the calls and he
Mhm.
lets that affect his game and he might get in a little foul trouble and he has to sit. And now
And
you have
Fox
a
is
guy
Fox
that
is a
you can
closer.
say, hey, right. You have a guy you can say, hey, give us a bucket with or without Wimby. And I think that's going to be helpful. I mean, you saw Devin Vassell have so much freedom offensively last night because
Mhm.
he's not treated like that number 2 option anymore. And so he got a lot better looks from 3, was able to get to his mid-range a lot easier. You saw, Chris Paul still able to make plays. Harrison Barnes
Mhm.
doing what he did. Jeremy Sohan when De'Aaron Fox was kind of in that lineup, but it was good, man. It has
What?
started to pick up some steam, right? And for us
Mhm.
to get this done is great. I think for the Spurs' future.
I like it. One thing I like to say, we all know De'Aaron Fox is a closer. He won the
Clutch
new
player,
award they had, yeah, Clutch Player of the Year award. What was it? 2 years back? I think
two
when they
years
made
ago,
the
I think.
playoffs, yeah, when they lost to the Warriors in the first round. But since you touched so much on your Spurs side of it, I want to touch on the Kings side because they
Yeah,
decided not to rebuild, and they got a ton of picks, or I should say, ton of assets. I'm not familiar with CD Casico.
yeah,
I'm reading that name right.
yeah. It's
Saseko.
Stevie
Um,
Sissoko.
yeah, Sissoko.
Yeah, he's not even
I'm
on the
not.
team anymore. He got traded, so you don't even have to
All
talk
right,
about
yeah.
him.
So Zach Levine has been with the Bulls a good amount of years. I say about 6 years that the Timberwolves traded. I think it's about 6 years.
Yeah, yeah.
He moves on to his third team, and it's kind of a clunky fit because they don't have a point guard now. Their backup point guard
It's
was,
Malik
I think
Monk.
it was, yeah, Malik Monk is he was a combo guard. He ran a lot of point guard. Keon Ellis is gonna be back there running the point guard a little bit, but they're pretty clogged at the shooting guard position now. But obviously they made this trade to not rebuild or not. They regrouped basically. They traded their
Right.
star and they got 6 picks while doing it. Appreciate y'all for coming in as well. 13 people in right now. While we got Celtics, Mavs, coming on. But everybody expected the Kings to go into tank mode and go back to what the Kings are really are. They only
Mhm.
won one playoff series damn near 15 years, 15, 20 years. So I would like to see how the Kings fare off from here because they had a little resurgence with Doug Christie filling in as the interim coach and some steam picking up for him that he might, get that job next year. So we'll see how that
Yeah.
goes. From the Bulls perspective, about time they trade Zach Levine. They didn't get off Vucevic, which is pretty damning.
Yeah.
That just told me they wanted a first round pick for him, and nobody was willing to give it for I think a
Mhm.
33-year-old center. But he's been playing great this year.
Yeah.
But I would have liked the Bulls to trade Vucevic. And they signed Lonzo Ball to a 2-year, $20 million deal. I don't get
That
that.
was fine too. Yeah.
So the Bulls, I don't know. Kevin Herter, Zach Collins. I know you don't like Zach Collins at all from your
Yeah.
Spurs days. You're not a fan of him. I ain't gonna say you don't like him, but if the Bulls are gonna go into full tank mode, I know Trey Jones might be a buyout candidate. So nobody's gonna. I don't think nobody's gonna buy out. I don't think they're gonna buy out Kevin Herter contract. So I like the Spurs. Obviously the Spurs won this trade. They're not valuing that 2027 pick because they believe they'll be potent team by then. That's about
Mhm.
2 years. That should be Wemby MVP year. Uh, so, any closing thoughts on that trade, brother?
No, man, I would just say I think it shows that this is not your fathers or your grandfather's San Antonio Spurs. Like they would
Mm-hmm.
have never really made a trade like this. They've
Yes.
had trades that I guess you consider blockbuster, like go and get Richard Jefferson once upon a time, but
Okay.
nothing to where you go get a superstar in their prime to pair with your superstar player. And I think that
Different
kind of shows a
times.
commitment to Wimby. So that's exciting. Like, I think we might, we can make a play in spot or maybe even get to that 6 seed, which is where I want to go. I don't even want to play in. I want to get in the playoffs.
Yeah,
And then
y'all outside of the play-in right now, about three
right,
games, I
right,
believe, or two and a half.
right,
So y'all
right.
gonna have to make a real push, and maybe the Kings fall out because y'all took away the
Maybe.
best player. The Warriors just made an upgrade.
Mm-hmm.
Who else in the play? The Mavericks. AD, I think he makes his debut Saturday, so
Mm-hmm.
they're gonna look to make a push. So it's gonna be pretty tight.
Yeah.
In that play, a good team won't make it. So
Yeah.
we'll see about that. I'm gonna
Mm-hmm.
move up to the next trade that follows this. Well, this was we don't gotta go over this.
Big
This was
spot.
a
We ain't
big
gotta do
swap.
too
Yeah,
much.
that's pretty simple. Mavs land Caleb. Both of the brothers got traded.
Yep.
Sadly, they know the team. One got traded from Charlotte and one for the 76ers. Pretty simple trade here. Caleb Martin and Quentin Grimes. I don't know why the Mavs paid a second round pick for Caleb Martin. I thought Quentin Grimes was playing. I don't know if you tuned in, but he's a
Yeah.
scorer. I thought he was playing well.
Well for him. Yeah, it was kind of
And they
odd.
need a creator. Like,
Right. It was kind of odd. And I guess maybe they're looking for more perimeter
3D.
defenders. Because
Yep.
again, that's one of the reasons why you traded Luke, at least according to Nico, is we
Right.
want defense and bring a guy like Caleb Martin who's gonna defend three positions and
Mm-hmm.
can handle the ball a little bit and can make the 3-point every now and then. So
Mm-hmm.
maybe that's kind of what they were looking at, just getting more guys that could be defensive oriented and then kind of give you some timely buckets, I would assume. But
I definitely can see that. He had a great year. That Miami finals run against the Nuggets.
Mm-hmm.
Him, Gabe Vincent, Max Strus, I believe.
Yep.
Tyler, not Tyler. Tyler Hill was hurt. So, and Duncan Robinson, they were lighting it up. The undrafted guys. Simple Pelicans trade. Tice to
I don't
OKC.
know what that was. I guess they're trying to get under the tax or something. Is what I heard.
Yes, they under the tax. The Pelicans are the only team who hasn't paid the luxury tax yet in NBA history since that became a thing. And OKC will buy Tice out. Same thing with the Celtics. Trade Springer to the Rockets, a money save.
Wait, hold on. Before you go up, that Kings acquiring Valanciunas.
Oh yeah, look at me. Yep.
To your point of them not necessarily feeling like they about to go into a full rebuild, but just regrouping. It kind of, as a Spurs fan, I was a little disappointed because that was a guy I wanted on the market for the Spurs to get. And I guess they look like they're probably gonna go to buyout market for a center. But man, like if they would have been able to get JV and have him kind of spot Wemby from time to time, especially from a rebounding aspect, that'd have been great. But to your point about the Kings, I think bringing a player in like JV, that shows like, okay, like we still feel like we can push for the playoffs and everything. So that was an interesting trade. They didn't really give up much. They gave up a G League player in 2 seconds. So
yeah, Valanciunas trade value is very low. But how I look at it, the Wizards basically acquired Valanciunas in the offseason to trade him. Obviously, they thought they would get more, but hey, 2 second-round picks, you paid them half a season. Not bad for the Wizards. You got off them. And for the Kings, they get a solid backup behind Sabonis. Size, he can shoot that corner three, he developed that, and he has a post game. He's just not good at defense. He can't move too much. He's a glacier. But he's still a good offensive player, man. So you can't be everything in this league as you get older. So simple trade right here. Wizards in a lot of the action, huh?
Right.
Wizards get a first round pick. It doesn't have the protections on here. I'm sure this has a protection because it's Reggie Jackson.
Right.
And 76ers received 2 second-round picks. And 4 second-round picks, basically. 2027, 2028, and 2 in 2030. So that's a simple move. Don't really have to go over that as well. Where's the other deals? I just had to hold up. Wait a minute. Yeah, hold up. We ain't about to be talking about all small deals. Here we go. Here we go. Trade. It's I should say important players, significant players on the move.
Mm-hmm.
Bucks received Kyle Kuzma, champion Kyle Kuzma, Patrick Baldwin Jr., Jericho Sims from the Knicks in a 2025 second round pick. The Wizards again. The Wizards received Chris Middleton, AJ Jackson, sharpshooter, 28 first round pick swap, and the Knicks received DeLon Wright cash considerations. Obviously, the talk around the Bucks have been they've been trying to get more athletic and younger because they're one of the most slower teams in the league. So getting Kuzma, replacing Middleton with Kuzma, more younger, and Jericho Sims, a bouncy backup center who can play behind Brook Lopez. We heard a lot Brook Lopez and Bobby Portis were on the block, and that's mainly because they're up there in age and they're not that athletic. The Bucks don't have any athletic players outside of Giannis, basically, unless you want to call
bully ball,
Andrew Jackson. I would guess he's athletic. He's a young rookie. So, but other than that, it's not too athletic. I want to ask you this before the trade: do you think Chris Middleton stays with the Wizards?
It seems like he'll at least stay for this season. I haven't heard anything about buyouts. And quite honestly, I don't know if a contender is looking his way to bring him in. Because I think if he was seen as somebody that could help be that piece to get you to that championship, the Bucks don't part with them. So I can see him finishing out the year with the Wizards and then kind of signing a deal with somebody.
We talked about this on a couple of shows a few months ago, but them 2 ankle surgeries right before the season. That was crazy. I see. That's nice. All right. That's a strawberry. But the 2 ankle surgeries right before the season were really a gut punch because he's that first injury, man, he hasn't shook back since. And it kind of reminds me of the Klay Thompson injury. Klay Thompson had productive years, obviously, but just wasn't the same player as Chris Middleton was kind of their closer. Their guy you give to when you want to bucket from anywhere on the floor. And obviously he isn't that anymore. So, but the Bucks do get Kuzma. How do you see this fit?
It'll be good.
Do you plug him right in starting?
No, I think you have him come off the bench. I feel like we have enough offense between Damian Lillard and Giannis. And then some, obviously you have Andrew Jackson out there for defense. You got Brook Lopez out there protecting the rim. So I feel like Kuzma is going to be that guy that comes in with a Bobby Portis, brings that energy. You can stagger lineups with him. So it'll be good to just kind of see how he fits in. But is he probably a long-term starter at some point? I would think so. But I think for this season, he'd probably be more beneficial for them off the bench just because they don't really have, anybody that you can count to say, hey, if Giannis and Dame were off the floor, who can we go to offensively? And I think Kuzma is a guy that brings that. The thing that stands out to me really is the Jericho Sims addition. Just back up big, athletic, a guy that can kind of help protect the rim too. So you're not losing a ton when Brook Lopez is off the floor. Obviously, he doesn't have the floor spacing ability that Brook has, but maybe somebody that, hey, let's say we're resting Giannis and Brook at the same time, and we're letting Jericho work with Dame in the pick and roll.
Yep.
So that's somebody that can really help. And then DeLon Wright is probably an underrated pickup for the Knicks, just kind of securing that backup point guard position, and being somebody that can run that second unit for them. So I'm interested to see what that looks like for them too.
Yeah, hopefully DeLon can get on the court because the Knicks, we know Tibbs play the starters heavy, and they don't really have too much of guard play outside of Deuce McBride coming off the bench. We know they're happy with the Josh Hart, Mikal Bridges, OG, and I think that's their 3 guys.
And obviously,
I can't even really think of any other guards other than Deuce McBride off the bench for the team. But we're gonna move on to the next trade on this list. We went through that one already. Same. Okay. Here we go. My cousin Jimmy Butler. The Well, let's give y'all a small backstory. A couple hours before this, Jimmy said he won't re-sign with them. I'm gonna let you break it down because I got baby.
Yeah.
Go ahead, my guy.
So yeah, maybe a few hours before this happened, Jimmy Butler had mentioned that he wasn't going to resign with any team unless they were the Phoenix Suns, and pretty much everybody assumed that they had tanked their value. So much so that Golden State at that point in time redirected from the Jimmy Butler sweepstakes and tried to go get Kevin Durant, who said, "Nah, I'm good where I'm at. I don't want to go back to Golden State. I'm good on that." And they redirected to Jimmy Butler because they were extremely desperate. I mean, we kept hearing all day yesterday about how they were just star hunting and trying to, find a trade for any star that was willing to come. And I
Correct.
think they conceded and told Jimmy Butler, "Look, man, we'll pay you the two-year extension if you come to us." And he said, "Well, it doesn't seem like anybody else is going to pay me $60 million a year the way
Right.
he was going about things." And he accepted the trade. And obviously, to make money work, you lose a guy like Andrew Wiggins, who obviously it hurt Coach Kerr a little bit to lose him. And what he meant to that team, what he meant to that 22 championship team.
Yes.
You get Kyle Anderson, who's going to be just a veteran in that locker room. A guy's going to do the little things. You get PJ Tucker. I don't know how much he really contributes at this point in his career.
You really don't get PJ Tucker because he got flipped.
Because he got flipped,
the Raptors. He went to the Raptors. He got traded to the Raptors.
That's true.
But Davion Mitchell is coming to the Heat as well. So
Davion Mitchell, one first round pick, really, and it has protections on it. And obviously, saw Jazz got Dennis Schroeder, who might be a buyout candidate.
No, he got traded to the Pistons.
See, look at that.
He's been traded. He's been on 4 teams within 24 hours. I think they say.
It's ridiculous. But I mean, I don't know about you, man. I don't know if this is something that just takes the Warriors up another notch. I mean, obviously you add another talented player, but it just seems like it wasn't that they were hurting for a star player. They were just not investing in their youth movement, in my opinion, the way they needed to. And what does an addition of a Jimmy Butler do for Jonathan Kuminga's development now? So,
I'll say this about the Warriors. I'm trying to pull up the standings as I talk through this, but the Warriors are 25-25. They've been an average team the last couple of years since the championship year, basically. Well, not the year after when they lost to the Lakers in the second round. After that year, they've been an average 500 medaling team. I think they waited too long and held out too long on Kuminga and Moody and Jordan Poole. I think they should have sold high when it was rumors before when KD was with the Nets. That hey, the Warriors can trade for him, but they were like, no, we want to keep our young movement. Kuminga, this one they were younger and they were like first, second year, and they're like, oh, we want to see they're going to be the next regime. So I think they missed the opportunity on getting a star player. Man, they could have had KD when he was leaving the Nets and got traded to the Suns back then. If they would have just gave up Moody, Kuminga, a couple picks, and something else. Kuminga and Poole, I think that would have been worth it. Hindsight, obviously, it's easy for me to say that now, but I think teams get too caught up on young guys nowadays. Like same thing with the Lakers with Taylor Horton Tucker when it was like, oh, he's untouchable in trades. Then you wind up trading him for Patrick Beverley. So you got to sell high on young guys when you have a veteran team, when you have a veteran star on your team. It's okay to hold on to some young guys, but if you can make your team really better at that moment, I think so. Now to Jimmy, we don't know what Jimmy's gonna do. I don't know how the fit will be with him and Draymond, just from personalities. But Jimmy has his money now. We don't hear too much from Jimmy when he has his money, and he plays well in the playoffs. I don't know. I think this team can be I think their ceiling is first round because they're going to be medaling around an 8-7 seed if they get in, unless they go on a crazy one. Excuse me. So, and they're going to wind up playing OKC, Rockets, and even though I'm saying that, I know those teams are young. I think OKC will probably wipe the floor with them. But I think they could compete with Houston just off experience. Houston hasn't been there yet. This is going to be their first year in the playoffs comfortably as well, like a top 3 seed. It's kind of going to be like when the Suns, the Clippers, and the Lakers was like the 6th, 7th, and 8th seed.
Yeah.
And I think the Lakers beat the Grizzlies. The Grizzlies was the 2nd seed, I believe. And they were young. That was like their 2nd year in the playoffs. So I think it could be something like that. Houston can be upset if Curry gets on the heater and Jimmy is hitting on all cylinders. And, Draymond bringing that energy. So I like that. On the Miami Heat side, I like that they flipped PJ Tucker for Davion Mitchell just for a 2nd round pick as well. They needed a guard behind Terry Rozier. Lord knows what's going on with him and that league and gambling thing that was going on. We don't know what's going to happen with him. So getting a guard, a defensive guard, because Hero, he's been doing a lot of playmaking. This is his first All-Star year. So Davion to put some pressure, corner attack defender, I like that move. PJ Tucker just getting flipped, man. That's crazy. Philadelphia, I don't know why they gave PJ Tucker 3 years, $40 million. I think 3 years, $30 million.
That's for James Harden. So
yes, that was crazy. I saw Jeff Teague.
The Heat, they was already kind of surging. Obviously, Tyler Hero gonna be a first-time All-Star. Bam's been playing well, and you add a guy like Andrew Wiggins. That, will he be as good as Jimmy Butler was for them? No, but he can provide some of those same things in terms of what he'll provide as a defender, what he'll provide as a guy that can make some shots when you need him to. So we'll see how they grow together now that they can just focus on the guys that are in the locker room and not have to worry about, is Jimmy going to be here? What's going on with that situation? The fact that they only had to lose, they only lost Josh Richardson from their roster outside of Jimmy Butler. So it wasn't as if they lost some key pieces to accommodate the Jimmy Butler trade, which is good for them.
Correct. And the East is way easier than the West. They're 1 game over 500 and they're the 6th seed. Detroit is 25 and 26 and they're the 7th seed.
This is where we plug in. Move the Pels to the Eastern Conference. This is ridiculous.
It's crazy because if you move the Pels to the Eastern Conference, they still be out the playoffs. Tough year, man. We can't use that argument this year, Trey.
But
let me see the Pelicans. Oh yeah, we got 12 wins, man. But I ain't lying. Trey Murphy is on the heater this year. Y'all better watch him. That boy is cutting up. Let's move on to the next trade. Let's go up. We have, speaking of the Pelicans, that was a good. Come on, man. We rolling, bro. 16 people in the chat on a Thursday evening. We appreciate y'all. Why TNT basketball is going on. The All-Star teams just got picked as well. We might got to touch on that. But Raptors land Brandon Ingram, who we talked about this a lot on trade that the Pelicans might have was going to trade somebody. It isn't Zion. They received Bruce Brown, Kelly Olynyk, a 1st-round pick, and a 2nd-round pick. Did you think this was a good return for the Pelicans? Granted that Brandon Ingram has been wanting that extension. In his reports that came out that he wants like $50 million, but like a month ago, they said it was he wanted 35. And we was like, hey, all right, that's better. That's something that we can do. But 50, that's different. That's close to Jimmy Butler range now. But how do you feel about the return the Pelicans got?
I think it's about as good as you could get, honestly. You got Bruce Brown, who's a good ball handler, a guy that can obviously play defense, did really well with the Denver Nuggets when he was there. Kelly Olynyk, you get a backup big. That's a really good passer. Can stretch the floor, so you can theoretically play him with Zion Williamson when he's healthy. And you got a 1st-round pick out of it. To get a 1st-round pick when you basically have a lame duck asset because you have to move off of him, and you're going to lose him for nothing in free agency if you don't get anything. So to get 2 picks in, I think Kelly Olynyk is on an expiring contract, and to get a Bruce Brown, who I think they probably would have hoped to maybe flip for some picks, but weren't able to. I think is a pretty good return for Brandon Ingram, considering that he was a lame duck asset, and it almost makes you think about what would have happened had you moved off of him when y'all had that playoff series and he did well against the Suns. and the return that you could have gotten him because there were. I'm saying that there was last year they could have moved him for the second overall pick if I'm not mistaken, and they didn't. And that in itself is I mean mind-boggling at this point because a year later you don't have him anymore, and you could have had the second overall pick. So whether that would have been Scoot or Brandon over that got drafted by Charlotte, that could have been a really good piece that you paired with Zion and growing around. Especially maybe Scoot Henderson is probably having a much better career with the Pelicans than he is with the Trailblazers right now. If he gets to pair with Zion and kind of has a little bit more freedom, more shooting around him, he probably has a much better career in New Orleans. So they had a really good opportunity last year and didn't maximize on it. And so for them to get what they got, I think is good considering the situation. But when you think about what was on the table a year ago and they just didn't capitalize on that, it's a little disappointing, I think, when you compare the two.
For the Pelicans, I'm finally glad they moved on. Obviously, Brandon Ingram hasn't been ideal for the Pelicans. Help in general hasn't been ideal. I thought CJ McCollum was going to be a trade chip as well. They didn't get him off, but maybe they didn't do that because DeJounte just went down with the Achilles injury. But still, I think the Pelicans need to. I think it's about time they're going to turn it over. I think they're going to fire Willie Green, even though he doesn't deserve it.
Yeah,
with the injuries, basically. But I think they're just going to retool because I don't see them trading Zion this offseason. But I just don't know the Pelicans right now, man. They've been injured so early, but David Griffin going to have to work some magic.
Yeah.
But I want to ask you about the Brandon Ingram fit with the Raptors. They have R.J. Barrett already, Scotty Barnes. Scotty Barnes plays sort of like the Raptors. The Raptors are back to what they had with Siakam, Barnes, and who was the other forward they had? They just was a bunch of forwards on their team.
I can't remember, but I know exactly what you're talking about.
Yeah, it was just all forwards and Van feet. But how do you see Brandon Ingram fitting in with R.J. Barrett and Scotty Barnes?
Honestly, I'm interested to see what it looks like. I mean, nobody's going to be taking 3-pointers pretty much.
Yeah, exactly.
That's going to be interesting.
They have Grady Dick as well.
And
all guys at the same position. And Emmanuel Quickly, who's running a point guard. He's not really a point, but he's a point. He come back off injury.
Yeah. I'm more interested in what it looks like long term because are they going to be the team that extends Brandon Ingram and gives him a favorable deal that he's looking for? And if so, how does that work when you have two other players essentially on the roster that play a similar brand of basketball as he does? So what does that mean for R.J. Barrett? What does that mean for Scotty Barnes? So I'm just interested. Maybe they're just they wanted to get off some expiring contracts and they brought him in, but you also gave him a first-round pick, so you almost feel like you got to extend them. So it'll be interesting on what they have because maybe it's the wrong message, but I kind of get that they probably felt like, okay, we don't really have a guy to build around yet that has established themselves as that. And so maybe we bring a Brandon Ingram in. He separates himself, shows that he's the guy we could build around, and then we go from there. So maybe that's what they're thinking about.
I hope the Raptors not thinking like that. No offense, but Brandon Ingram has been in the lead a good amount of years. Even if you want to talk about the talent, you can't build around him because he's not on the floor enough. He's not available enough. That's like the same thing you say about Zion. You can't build around Zion if he's not available. You have to see the pieces that fit with him. Hopefully, I wish all the help to Brandon Ingram because when he's on the floor, he's one of the deadliest mid-range jump shooters you'll ever see on the court. He's like a younger DeMar DeRozan from mid-range area. And this game has progressed so seamless since he came in the league. But I think Brandon Ingram as your second guy is what you'll see with the Pelicans. He was a first round. Maybe they can fight in the second round if they hitting on all cylinders. But I think Brandon as your second guy is first round team, second round ceiling. His third guy, hey, now you might you're talking championship contention if he a third guy. So
Right.
that's why I thought a swap for kind of like Michael Porter and Brandon Ingram. But hey, the Nuggets are really rolling right now. They don't want to mess with anything. So let me scroll up, see if we got another one.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, we do. Here we go. Lakers get Mark Williams, another injury-prone center, for Dalton Connect, Cam Reddish, a 2031 unprotected first, hiccup, sorry, and a 2030 pick swap for center Mark Williams. What do you think about this trade? The Hornets have traded both their centers, Nick Richards to the Suns for nothing, and
Mm-hmm.
their backup center, well, for a couple seconds, I shouldn't say nothing. And
Yeah.
Mark Williams, their starting center, who's 23 years old, to the Lakers for basically Dalton Connect and I forgot about Cam Reddish. Sorry, an unprotected first round pick. What do you think about the Charlotte trading their starting young 23-year-old center?
Once I saw the trade, kind of started looking into it, and it seemed like a lot of the fan base and media around Charlotte, they were not the biggest fans of Mark Williams. In
Over the
terms of
last, I have to say over the last week.
Yeah,
Over a couple games.
right. But I mean, his motor and of course the injuries. Like I think he's played 84 games in the past 3 years, so that gets a little bit discerning, and especially when you're losing games, right? You're hoping that these are guys that you can help build around LaMelo, and it's just not leading the wings. So I get it from their standpoint. And the Lakers got a big that they need, an athletic big, a guy that can anchor a defense. I just think this would have been a much better trade if Anthony Davis is still on your team as opposed to off of it. I'm not sure why Dalton Connect had to be in this trade. I felt like he was a guy that brings a level of scoring and a level of maturity, being a 4-year college guy that you really want, especially when you're making a push for the playoffs and having guys that have played in big games. Dalton Connect was that guy that brought kind of that maturity to a team that is led by a very mature bunch in LeBron James, and obviously you're bringing a superstar in Luka Doncic over there. But so I would have liked to see, if it's Cam Reddish, the first round pick, the pick swap, and maybe you throw in a couple of seconds or whatever to make sure you keep your first round pick from this past draft, because I think it was very important to the future. When you think about, obviously LeBron only has so much time left. Austin Reeves could be a part of that with Luka, but I felt like Dalton, with his size and his ability, not just as a scorer, but to be able to develop as a defender, brought you so much that with that 6'6", 6'7" frame, that maybe Austin Reeves, who thrives a little bit more having the ball in his hands. I mean, can play off ball, but I felt like try to keep guys that can really operate well in an off the ball role, and Dalton could do that as he continued to grow in his career. So it was kind of surprising to see him included in the trade, especially when we've talked about guys like Gabe Vincent and Rui being on the trade block and probably being the pieces that needed to be moved to get a big. And
I definitely get you on that. We got to look at it from Charlotte's standpoint. Charlotte doesn't need Gabe. They don't need Rui. They don't fit their timeline. Their timeline is young. Obviously, they traded their young centers. LaMelo's, I think he's hurt again. So they developing more assets. Not too many free agents coming to Charlotte, so maybe they'll trade for a guy soon enough. But Dalton Connect, rookie, just for the Lakers team, he's a good player, but inconsistent. Which you can understand that from a rookie, even though he did his multiple years in college. I think just for this, the Lakers looked at it as they're balancing. Do we want our starting center right now, who could be the center for multiple years? He's 23. Do we want Connect right now, who we don't need right now because we have Finney Smith, we have Rui, Vanderbilt, LeBron, we just got Luka, we got Reeves. It's not going to be too much of a role for him. And out of all those guys, he plays defense the worst. So he might have not seen the floor in the playoffs. And I didn't even mention Gabe. So I think they just played the role of give and take. I think kind of like you. I think it was kind of over pay, but the Lakers don't have any more assets. They only have 1 second round. So I know you mentioned like giving up second rounders. They only have one left. So
Yeah.
that's probably why they gave the swap out because they don't have any more seconds. I'm sure if they had seconds, the Hornets probably would have took two unprotected first in 2 seconds or 3 seconds, but they had to give up that swap. So, and we know who team's going to be worse in 2030. So, even though that's 5 years. Let's see what else we got, man.
I think that was probably the real like last big one.
Nurkic.
got
Nurkic. Speaking of Nurkic and
so
Hunter,
they got their center, I guess.
Yeah,
better in center, but
we rolling into these topics flowingly. Look, we just left off the Hornets with no centers, and look, they get Nurkic, who was exiled by Mike Budenholzer and Williams. His last game played. You know when his last game was played?
I'm gonna say November.
No, it was January 7th. Not that far, Trey.
Okay.
January 7th. He hasn't played since January 7th.
Gonna sit him down. So I remember that was before Christmas, I thought.
Mm-hmm. He hasn't played since January 7th. And Mason Plumlee has been starting. He gets a chance to start. He gets the chance to walk right into a starting job. Look, no centers over that farm. And the Suns, who's in turmoil right now, KD on the block, Brad Beal on the block, and they trade for Cody Martin. But I'm not gonna try to name, but I know who my guy is. I know who my guy is. He's a European player. He's a kind of like a Ricky Rubio type. He's a great passer, point guard. And I think this is a depth move for the Suns.
But why would they give up? Especially seeing the type of year that they're having and could be in play for a lottery pick. Why would they give up their first round pick?
Well, look, remember, they split their first and got 3 firsts. Remember that trade? They had 1 first and they split it into 3. So this is not their first round pick.
Right.
And they had to pay to get off Nurkic because Nurkic he doesn't expire this year. His deal expires next year. He has no money. So he'll be traded in the offseason of next season with the Hornets. We'll be right here talking about who needs a center. Nurkic is playing good with the Hornets, and he'll be getting flipped again. So that's how that'll go. But how do you see the 2 role players helping out the Suns because they need help in the rotation? They play Tyus Jones, that's the starting point guard. I believe Ryan Dunn, Devin Booker, Kevin Durant, and Plumlee, I believe, starts. And Bradley Beal off the bench. Now I have Cody Martin for Mizmi.
I think the backup point guard is going to be good. Just because I think like Bradley Beal for the most part is your de facto backup point guard, and obviously he's involved in stagger lineups with Booker and KD. So now you have another guy that when Tyus isn't on the floor can just kind of help get everything moving, put everybody in good positions. Cody Martin, just like his brother, is just another defender that you add to the fold, and a guy that could be a 3-and-D type of guy. And I think that's kind of what you're getting there. But to your point, this is more so a salary move and getting off a guy that just wasn't in your rotation anymore. It's just being able to continue to build around your big 3 and just have some role players that kind of fit some of those gaps that you were starting to see with your roster.
Definitely agree. And once again, you guys, y'all like and comment. Y'all on Twitter, YouTube, drop some comments in the 18 people in here. We appreciate y'all every time for coming on live with us with our schedules. What do you think about the report about Kevin Durant, about the Suns involving Kevin Durant in trade with the Mavs and Warriors? Obviously, I think a deal was done with the Warriors that could have been done, but KD said he didn't want to go there. So I think the Warriors did him a solid and said, all right, he doesn't want to come here. We're not going to bring him here. So what do you think about the Suns doing that? And obviously, if you don't get traded at the trade deadline, but your name was in trade rumors and you have a big star like KD, you're going to be like, hey, I didn't ask for a trade. Are y'all out there shopping me? Just
It's gonna
because
be an
y'all
interesting
traded
summer,
for
bro.
Bill and Bill don't want Chase. Obviously, they wanted Jimmy Butler over there for Bill.
Mhm.
But Miami was not going for it. Obviously,
Right.
Bill wanted to go to Miami. That's one of the teams he would have waived for, but Miami did not want it. How you
It's
feeling if you KD?
it's gonna be an interesting summer, and I
Mm-hmm.
feel like if you're KD, you're like, well, okay, I thought this was gonna be a place I was gonna end my career, but now I need to start having my folks put some feelers out on some places I might want to go. So
Yep.
yeah, the only time you really mentioned me in trade talks for the most part were Mavs and Golden State, which are two places I wouldn't want to go. But would I link up with a Giannis? Would I link up with a Wemby if they're looking at that opportunity? Would I link up somewhere in LA? So, or would I go back home to OKC and finish
Mm-hmm.
my career there? So there might be some elements over the summer where you start to think about that. Because the crazy part is, two of your big three that you tried to establish, you just pissed them off.
Yeah,
You so
and but Bradley Bill don't count. He been knowing they've been trying to trade him since
yeah, but
since
but
damn near December. Look,
but now that you're forced to really play me, now what
who?
does that look like?
Kevin Durant or Bradley Bill?
Bradley Bill. So you
Oh,
kind of forced to
Mike
play me
Budenholzer
now.
put him on the bench.
Yeah,
So obviously he didn't
but
care. Mike
but you gotta
Budenholzer.
play him now. But you gotta
Yep.
play him now because you
Mm-hmm.
gotta start to maximize it
Right.
because you need to get in the playoffs now. You don't want to lose, have a lost season.
Mm-hmm.
But it's gonna be interesting this summer because you
It's
talked
gonna.
about this early like when we were kind of coming into the year of how summer isn't about free agency anymore. It's about
Mhm.
trades and what are some of those blockbuster trades on the
Yep.
horizon. And I think you gotta assume that Kevin Durant might be somebody that starts to
Might
look
be on
because
the
he'll have
block.
1 year on his contract, I think, after this
I was just
upcoming
about to say
season.
he's extension eligible this summer, so
And I
we'll
don't think
see.
he signed an extension with them unless
I don't know if they're gonna offer it.
he's with them.
So
Yeah,
it's gonna be real interesting.
what if he link up with Ant in Minnesota?
I'm not mad at that. They dropped off tremendously from trading Cat, but hey, I don't know if they're gonna do that because they
Mhm.
traded Cat to save money. So we'll see how that goes. But the Suns are in a lot of trouble with their new owner, Matt Ishbia. He has to get it together. But I do like the two role players they picked up. And both of their contracts are now guaranteed for next year. So that's money saved right there. But I do think that point guard will be effective for them because he's really the only pass first guy on their team. Everybody else is just Ty's playing as a point guard. Tyus Jones is a more score first point guard. He can distribute, but he's not.
And like he's a real good distributor, I think, but he'll score if you need him to. Type
Yeah.
of deal.
Okay, we got our last big one, man. This just happened right before the buzzer.
Mhm.
Oh no,
You got
yeah,
two big ones, two big
two,
ones.
both from the Hawks.
Mhm.
The Cavs get DeAndre Hunter. I had to comment on this one. I love this trade for the Cavs. They get DeAndre Hunter for Karis LeVert and 3 second-round picks and 2 pick swaps. So, and
Mhm.
George Niang. Sorry about that, George Niang. I ain't want to leave you out. You is a solid depth piece. But the Cavs are 41-10, and they get a small forward that they've been needing since LeBron left.
Mhm.
So, like, their starting small forward was Dean Wade, but he's been out hurt. They
Yeah.
also have Isaac Okoro and Max Strus has been playing this start small
Yeah.
forward since Dean Wade's been out. But they get some size, athletic, young,
Mhm.
defensive, talented guy. It was just a log jam over there with the Hawks, with Jalen
Mhm.
Johnson, Zachariah Riche.
Mhm.
Basically that with those two, they want to move forward with their number one pick in Jalen Johnson, even though he's been hurt.
Yeah.
And DeAndre Hunter extension kicks in next year. But I think the Cavs got a good player. He's going to
I
fit right
agree.
into the start lineup. Defense,
Yeah.
long, can check Tatum, Brown. They're going to need that. What do you think of the trade, Trey?
Yeah, you hit all the good points there with when you added DeAndre Hunter, especially defensively. Because some of the guys you mentioned, like Max Strus, yeah,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Dean Wade, he
Okoro,
can
Dean
stretch the
Wade.
floor, but you don't really want him being a primary defender on the perimeter. And
Right.
Isaac Okoro, while he'll give you what you need defensively,
He struggles
he hurts
offensively.
you offensively. So now you
Yep.
have a guy, DeAndre Hunter, who's going to give you what he gives you defensively.
Yeah.
But he can stretch the floor. He's definitely grown as a shooter from the time he was drafted out of Virginia. Hell, I think he was about 5 for 5. It felt like last night for the Hawks against the Spurs, which is crazy because he just was balling out, and now he's on his way to Cleveland. So if he
That's
can
what happened.
continue, right,
Yeah,
so
tryout.
if he can continue to grow as a shooter and
Mhm.
playing off the star players, which he showed he can do off of a Trae Young, and now being able to do it off of Donovan Mitchell and Darius Garland and knock down those shots when they need you, but also be that guy that we put on the opponent's best player and help give us a chance defensively so that our two guys can really do what they do offensively to close the game. So that's really cool.
Yes.
I think he's going to be a starter for them, and I'm excited to see how the
Yes.
Cavs continue to build on what's been a fantastic season up until this point.
Yes. I believe that coach is Kenny Atkinson.
Yep.
Yeah, Kenny Atkinson has done a great job with them. I think he'll slide right into that small forward route. Only thing with this trade for the Cavs, it's crazy. He going from the 19 to the first seed. Crazy. I knew he loving
Mhm.
it, but he leaving Atlanta for Cleveland, so he might not love that. But um they do lose their third ball handler with Karis LeVert, though. I would love to see who's gonna be the third playmaker on that team. Ty
Mhm.
Jerome runs a lot of backup point guard for them, but I don't know if you want him to be the third primary ball handler. So we'll see. We'll see if DeAndre Hunter can take over that role. But let's move on to another Hawks trade. They got rid of their backup shooting guard and longtime sharpshooter, Bogdanovic, for Terrence Mann, Bones Highland, 3 second-round picks. The Clippers or the Hawks. The Clippers paid 3 second-round picks. I don't know
Mhm.
why, but Bones Highland really didn't play. Terrence Mann, good defender, good all around player, but
Mhm.
obviously the Clippers valued Bogdan over
Mhm.
defense, and Ty Lue has been slipping Terrence Mann out of the lineup slowly but surely. He had a question about him why Terrence Mann didn't play, and Ty Lue said, "I wanted to try something." That's
Mhm.
that's a coach who has all the job security in the world. Like that's a pop answer because I wanted
Yeah.
to. Like that's basically what Ty Lue said. So Terrence Mann is gone. Bones Highland been in the doghouse for years with the Clippers. Um, and they get a shooter next to Harden off the bench who can create a little bit. He's been hurt
Mhm.
this year. He's been having his
He's been
worst
hurt
year
the
this
past 2
year.
years,
Yeah,
unfortunately.
he's been having his worst year this year. So, how do you like this trade for the Clippers? They gave up
Man, I
three.
like it, man. Because
Mhm.
when I was living in Georgia, I had season tickets to the Hawks, and Bogey was one of my favorite players to watch. And like
Okay.
that run they had a few years ago, he was a big part of that. And unfortunately, injuries kind of took away the momentum that he had as an Atlanta Hawk. And so that's how you get to this point. But now going to a team where he doesn't really have to be not even a top 3 offensive
Hmm.
option for them. When you think about James Harden, obviously Kawhi, and then you got what's my boy shooting guard
Amir
that
Coffee,
no.
Norman Powell.
Norman Powell. So those are really kind of your top 3 offensive guys for the Clippers. And now you're just asking Bogey to, hey, make some open shots for us, which he is really good at doing that.
Hmm.
So where, with the Hawks outside of Trae, he was asked to be, hey, you're the guy we got to get the ball to, make some plays offensively. And I think they kind of led to his injuries really starting to rise and be more consistent.
Hmm.
And so now he kind of goes back into a role where one, he can really do well as a shooter, but I think also will get himself a little bit healthier because he's still a relatively young guy. I want to say he's about 29, so he's not necessarily old. He's a veteran,
Hmm.
but can be a guy that can do well for a playoff team and maybe make him some money this upcoming summer. So I'm excited to see that. And as a Spurs fan, I'm very excited because that pick is looking real good. It's looking real
Okay.
good.
Heard
A
that.
cool
We got.
flag. Welcome to San Antonio, baby.
Man, you ain't getting no cool flag, but y'all got gifted with women, bro. Y'all got y'all generational talent
Nah, we need
already.
more. We need
Y'all ain't
more.
y'all y'all ain't getting the Cleveland treatment where y'all get the
Hey,
first
look,
pick and only hit on one.
We're gonna be good, man. Hey,
We could fly through some of these small trades. After
yeah,
we talked about this earlier,
it's
Schroeder was rerouted to the Pistons. They will
Mhm.
keep him because they're in the play-in and they're trying to make the playoffs. So they're in number 7 spot. If they can get that number 6 spot, man, Cade Cunningham really been balling. Hawks make another deal. They trade Cody Zeller to the Rockets.
Mhm.
Pacers reportedly trade Wiseman to the Raptors. They get a
Yeah, he
center.
covered from an Achilles, so he ain't much.
And the Clippers did trade Porter Jr. They got younger again, offensive creator as well with
Talk
Kevin
about
Porter
some
Jr.
crash outs, boy.
But
Him and Kuzma, man, that's gonna be crazy.
man, don't put that crash out thing on Kuzma, man.
Doc gonna
Um,
go bad. I don't know if Doc can make it with both of them on this team, but
man,
we gonna see.
But Bojan Beauchamp, he's been with the Bucks for since his career started. Hasn't really
Mhm.
panned out. Didn't get too many opportunities. And we got the last trade that hit right before the buzzer.
Yeah.
The Grizzlies do a dump, man. Marcus Smart hasn't really been working out with them, so they
Mhm.
trade Marcus Smart. Well, look, the Wizards are in it again. The Wizards say anybody who won't give us a pick, we take it on
Yep.
contracts and anything. They get a
Yep.
2025 first round pick from the Grizzlies this year, in a deep draft. So I'm guessing that's why they did this.
Mhm.
Kings receive Jake LaRavia, and the Wizards finish off with Alex Lynn, Kobe Jones. Never know. They get another center with Alex Lynn. And the Grizzlies get Marvin Bagley, 2 second-round picks, and Johnny Davis. Obviously, this is a cash dump because
Mhm.
after this, it was reported that the Grizzlies would be this will make the cap very flexible. They only got 3 guys with big contracts, I believe. Bay, Morant, and Jackson.
Mhm.
I'm not sure nobody else had long-term contracts with
I
them.
don't think so.
I have to check, but the only guy who did was Marcus Smart, and he's gone now. But what do you think of this dump for the Grizzlies?
I think it's just good for them. I think just kind of their room was starting to get real crowded, and so
Mm-hmm.
when you have a guy, Jake's had some good minutes for him, but when you have a guy like that's not going to be getting a ton of minutes, and there's a
Mm-hmm.
chance that you can make something out of that, you just go ahead and do that. And they're thinking
Mm-hmm.
long term and who they can chase after in free agency and possibly sign and trade with some guys.
All right,
There's
all
been
right.
talk that they wanted KD as well, so
Yep.
it can maybe
You
be
know, there was
somebody.
talk last year. Um, they was in the running for the who was the small forward on the move last year? OG Anunoby and
Mhm.
Mikael Bridges. They were in the running for him. They didn't pull the trigger.
Yeah.
Just got outbidded, obviously by the same team, the Knicks, for both of the guys. But I'm looking at this salary cap sheet, and we was correct. Ja Morant at 36 million, Bane at 34, Jaren Jackson at 25. Marcus Smart was at 20, and he's trading now. The next guy is Brandon Clark, I'm sorry, 12.
Mhm.
And like I said, I think this was a move because they have some young guys. Remember, your guy last year, GD Jackson, he's been hurt.
Yeah.
But Jalen Wells has been very good for them
They're
this year.
second on
Jalen
the rookie
Wells.
ladder right now.
Yep. He's been very good for them. They also still have Luke Kennard, John Conchar, very capable guys. And Marcus Smart just hasn't been that defender that he was with the Celtics.
Yeah.
And he's
Hasn't even
only
really been
30.
dated.
Yeah,
So
so we'll see what the Memphis do going forward. And that was the last deal of the deadline, man. I guess on our next show or something post Super Bowl we could do after we do our like early range, Super Bowl, we can pick
yeah,
like the winners or losers or something of free agency. Um,
you know, yeah, yeah.
something like that. But
You know the winners are the Spurs in terms of the trade deadline. So
the
you
Spurs and
got
who else? I
this
just
is the
want you to say
Spurs.
it. The
Spurs,
Spurs and
but
who
Spurs are the
else?
winners of the trade deadline. We ain't got to talk about nobody else.
Who got the best player
It don't
of this
matter.
deadline?
It don't matter. They ain't got nothing. They can't handle an alien and a fox, bro. That's
We're saying, man, y'all gotta get in the club before y'all start talking, man.
yeah.
But man, that's the trade deadline, you guys. We're gonna touch a little bit on the Super Bowl right here because it is Super Bowl Sunday coming up in my hometown, in our hometown, I should say.
Mhm.
And the traffic is crazy right now. I should say, I'll speak for you, brother. The traffic is crazy, and we have the Chiefs versus the Eagles again. And they took a break last year. Well, the
Yeah.
Chiefs didn't. But the Eagles took a break last year and said we'll see y'all. We'll see y'all again, and they came back. And now, with more experience on both sides, the Chiefs look to three-peat, and the Eagles look to ruin it. Chiefs have lost one game all year.
Mm-hmm.
The Eagles lost 2 games, I believe.
Mm-hmm.
So this is a very even matchup. A lot of people saying, a lot of people saying, do not bet against Mahomes. Do not bet against. I won't finish that last part. But y'all get what I'm saying on that part. I'm a guy that respects the craft. I respect greatness. I respect Mahomes. I respect Andy Reid. I respect Travis Kelce.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm also a guy who loves innovative and new things.
Mm-hmm.
I love great things. I love new things as well.
Yeah.
And I just love to see that guy Jalen Hurts win the Super Bowl.
Mm-hmm.
Because I just hate I hate the slander that I see from him. Like, he gets so much slander for a quarterback who wins so much. Like, and it's not just about winning. He contributes to their winning. It's like, it's not like he's out there being a Jimmy G. He's an effective guy. He's a dual threat. His dual threat abilities open up the offense so much on those read options, on those play action runs, on those big runs that Saquon get it, where he holds the defensive end on that side. So, and when he's hitting, if he has another Super Bowl like he had last time, barring that fumble, I think we know who's going to be winning this Super Bowl. But I'm going to let you give your thoughts before we give our picks. But
yeah,
I just hate to see the hate, man. I appreciate all y'all still in the chat as well. We've been on here for an hour, and I know it's a little late on a Friday, the end of the week, well, Thursday. But thank y'all for still being in here. What you think, Trey? What's your thoughts
man.
on that?
I'll start with the Chiefs. I mean, look, you don't just accidentally win 15 games and find yourself with an opportunity to do what's never been done before, which is have a three-peat. And so you got to give credit to the Chiefs for making it this far in all 3 phases. And obviously their defense has stepped up in what Spags been able to do late in games, obviously fooling Josh Allen a little bit, and that was the ball game on that crucial 4th down play that won Kansas City the AFC Championship and another trip to the Super Bowl.
Yes.
We talked about, man, like their wins are kind of, muddy and always down to the last possession, and that's built some character for them. And they were able to win the games. The only game they lost was a game they sat all their starters. Or no, I lied. They lost 2 games. So the 2 games they lost, one they set their starters, one they got beat by the Buffalo Bills. Now on the Philly, I think they play their brand of football. One of the things we love about Kellen Moore, who's probably going to be the Saints head coach pretty soon, is that he's going to build a game plan offensively that's going to maximize his players. And if running the ball is how they get it done, they're going to do that. If airing it out is how they're supposed to do it, they're going to do that. And I think they make it difficult for the defense on how to game plan, because you can say, okay, well, I want to make Jalen Hurts beat me. Well, we've seen him win games in this league where he has to air it out. Oh, well, we're going to try to take away the big plays. We've seen, them be patient, and we've seen them go to their tight ends and their running backs in the past game and utilize Jalen's running ability, obviously utilizing Saquon Barkley and leaning on that offensive line. And I think one of the things we don't talk about with Philly, right, is that defense and being able to create pressure with just their front 4, which allows them to handle some things in coverage and drop in more players in coverage, kind of taking away some passing lanes for some quarterbacks. We did see them have some issues versus a Matthew Stafford, who is one of the best quarterbacks in the game. And so when you think about, okay, you're playing against arguably the greatest quarterback of this generation, and in the arguments of best of all time, and against one of the best offensive minds of all time, what does that look like for you? And for me, man, I kind of almost felt like it was a done deal for a little bit with Kansas City and getting three-peat.
Mm,
But the more I thought about it, the more I thought about those guys in that locker room and just the city of Philadelphia and that
mm,
mentality that they have and how they're gonna ride behind their guys. I think Philly is coming in on a mission.
mm,
I think they're going to make it tough defensively, and giving Mahomes some issues,
mm.
getting to him, trying to do their best to take Travis Kelce out the game and force other guys to step up, which we saw happen in that Super Bowl. We saw Juju Smith-Schuster have to be the guy to step up because Travis Kelce was pretty much ineffective and taken out of the game.
We
We
saw that
saw,
last week. Well, not last week,
yeah,
2 weeks ago. The Bills didn't really let him get loose.
Yeah, we saw Kadarius Toney step up in that Super Bowl
Mm-hmm.
win for them a couple years ago, and so who are going to be the guys this year? Is it going to be Xavier
Kareem
Worthy?
Hunt.
Is it going to be a Kareem Hunt? Right, and so that's something we're going to have to see. But I feel like the Eagles have won a lot of games, a lot of different ways,
Mm-hmm.
and I think that's going to be on display this Sunday. And I actually have them winning, bringing another Super Bowl to Philadelphia, and their Super Bowl winning offensive coordinator staying in New Orleans for the press conference in a couple of days after.
Period. Already picked out his house, his rental home, huh? Kellen Moore. That's a side show for the Super Bowl, but just like my Virgo brother over here, man, I made a couple bets with some guys at work, man, and I went with the Eagles. Because I always gotta be the difference maker, man. I gotta
Yeah,
be the difference maker and tell people, hey, y'all picking an easy pick. You're closed-minded, you're not open-minded. I know it's hard to see greats lose. I was the same way with LeBron. I think I picked them every finals. I just couldn't see it. Even 2018 when he didn't have nobody. When it was him against KD, Curry, Clay, and Draymond with Jordan Clarkson as his wingman. I said, hey, Brian gonna get it done. I was blind, but I'm not blind no more, y'all. I'm not blind no more. The flaws will show the defensive pressure of the Philadelphia Eagles. It will be a close game because the Chiefs always play close games. And they always execute. The fumble last week didn't bite them in the butt. Against I keep saying last week, 2 weeks ago against the Bills. But I think the Eagles forced a turnover or two, and that'd be the difference in the game. The Chiefs do not turn the ball over. So when they do turn the ball over, it's a game changer. So, and I think the Eagles will take advantage of that. I think it's going to be a close game, but in the end, I think the Eagles will pull it off and win this Super Bowl in New Orleans. And CJ Gardner Johnson gonna finally get his ring in the Superdome.
yeah,
Sad. But man, that's been a great show, man. I ain't expect us to go for an hour and 10 minutes. But hey, duty calls, and we here to provide the content. Appreciate y'all for who's still in here. Any strange things you expect in the Super Bowl, brother?
man, um, I think we'll get a special teams touchdown in the Super Bowl this year. Um,
Okay.
I
Block
think
punt or
I
something
think
like
that
that.
probably be something that changes some momentum
Okay.
this year.
Third, is Patrick Mahomes the greatest quarterback if he three-peats
No,
ever?
um,
Okay.
you got
Is
to. I
Andy
mean,
Reid
one.
the best coach ever if he three-peats?
I think he has. I think he has more of an argument,
Okay.
just
Then Pat.
because he's had the success against a Bill Belichick as well.
Mm-hmm.
But I would say still catch up. I mean, it's hard to win 7
Mm-hmm.
championship or 6 championships. Sorry, Tom won 7.
Mm-hmm.
So it's going to be hard. And I want to see that level of consistency continue and see if they can do that. And if
Mm-hmm.
not, then if not. But I won't necessarily put him over Bill Belichick yet. But I would say he has a much
He
closer
in company.
argument. He has a much closer argument to being the greatest coach of all time than I think Patrick Mahomes has right now, even with the
Mm-hmm.
three-peat, to being the best quarterback. And I think it's a number of things. I think Tom still owns the individual stuff, individual records, obviously the individual Super Bowl wins. And I think what doesn't get talked about in any of this is that we've seen them play against each other twice. It's probably one of the easiest GOAT discussions we've ever had because we don't have to live in the world of hypotheticals. We saw the two of them play together in two of the biggest games.
Right, and he went back.
And the Super Bowl.
I gotta be the devil's advocate here. Even though my guy, I was about to say my guy. Mahomes not my guy, but I like Mahomes' game. He was a young lad in that offense. In that Super Bowl, that offensive line was horrific.
You lost to a 40-year-old. You lost to a 40-year-old.
He didn't lose to a 40-year-old.
You lost to a 40-year-old.
Tom was decent in the Super Bowl. I think he had 3 touchdowns. But it really wasn't a contest. Like, and if you watch that Super Bowl, with the pressure Patrick received, he still made plays and hit guys in the chest, and the drops was there. So we got to add context to this.
Guess what?
In that game, the AFC Championship game you're talking about, where they changed, where they didn't change the rule, when Brady got in overtime and scored, and they didn't change the rule when that happened. But yes, so that wasn't Mahomes' fault either, man. You can't do that. You can't do that. Hey, don't get on here and do that,
man. Don't tell me somebody is greater than when I got to see them match up twice. Like this,
so he ain't never gonna be greater than them. So man, he never gonna be great.
If he wins one, I think if he gets the most rings, I think you're just gonna put him there. Especially if him getting the most rings or even tying doesn't include the 10-year gap that it did with Brady between his between his 4th and 5th.
03 and when did Brady win again? When did Brady win again?
2013 or something like that. Like they won 04 and he won again in 2014. Okay. So he had 3. So it was 10 years before he won his 4th. I think if Mahomes obviously gets 7 rings or more, especially if there's not a 10-year gap, we know the stats. He's going to catch up to all of our greats. He's going to pass.
Football is different.
He's going to pass Peyton. He's going to pass Drew. He's going to pass Tom. Statistically speaking, so he'll have the rings. He'll have the stats. Then at that point in time, you don't care that he lost to Tom Brady twice, because now I've reached certain things that Tom hasn't reached yet, and I have a potential 3-peat on my resume. So, that'll kind of get him. But as it stands, I think there's still some work to do.
I don't think he has to get 7, in my opinion, because I think that's just an outrageous number that Tom made that like crazy. And one thing I believe Tom in his earlier Super Bowls wasn't as impactful as Patrick Mahomes has been in every Super Bowl.
You gotta go watch him.
No, you have to watch the team. You can have spurts of being a great, but he hasn't been close to Patrick Mahomes in those early Super Bowls. You have to watch that.
I don't know about that. Tom was a top quarterback in the league during those times, and I think
Tom was a what?
He was a top quarterback in the league.
What's top quarterback? What do you expect?
Like it was him and Peyton. Like it was him and Peyton.
03?
Yeah, 03, 04. Like 01 is probably the only one you say he wasn't that guy yet, and that's because he was in his 2nd year. But
I'm gonna ask you this. You're right. I'm not gonna ask you because you probably don't have this off the top of your head. But one day we're gonna go back and look at the defenses of the New England Patriots and see the scoring averages of the Patriots offense and see that Brady produce at a top quarterback level. But mind you, we have to go back into 2002 time because scoring was lower and everything. So I will take that into consideration. But I think we both can agree Mahomes is a unique thrower of the football that Brady doesn't have in his bag, which the game is different now. It's just like the NBA. You see guys on the bench doing stuff that starters did in the 80s and the 90s. You see all type of quarterbacks now, Zach Wilson throwing the ball, no looks.
I think on talent. I mean, if we went on that, I think many people across many generations would say Dan Marino was probably the best, pure talent that they've ever seen at the quarterback position. But I would say this. This is one thing that's going to stand out is we can talk about the defense. We can talk about the Hall of Fame coach that Bill Belichick is. Tom got him one without him.
Right. Well, we can't
And
move
I
past
think there's going to come a time where Mahomes is judged on what life looks like without Andy Reid. We don't know when that's fair. We don't know when that's going to happen because, Big Red still like he got a decade in him. Now, I don't know if he's going to coach for another decade.
Well, long as he keep winning, he's going to keep coaching. I'll say that.
We'll see.
I like that. I like that though, but we can't judge Mahomes on something he ain't do yet.
Right.
We can't fault him. We can't fault him on that. But we'll see when Andy Reid retires or steps away from the game. But I like that, man. Had a little Brady versus Mahomes, little back and forth there. So we'll see if Mahomes gets his fourth ring or if he falls short. He already fell short to the GOAT, Tom Brady. And if he falls short again, it'll be to Nick Sirianni, Jalen Hurts, and everybody else.
Yeah, maybe they can start putting some respect on Jalen Hurts' name. So
they will. Hopefully, that's why I'm gonna be collecting Sunday evening when this game over. I'm gonna have my hand out and my Apple Pays and Cash Apps everywhere. Sit it right there. But y'all have a good night, you guys. This is the Bayou Ballers podcast. We appreciate y'all for coming in once again. Y'all gotta start tuning in on your comments. I think y'all be watching on Twitter, so that's why y'all can't be commenting on there. So, but we still appreciate y'all, man. Y'all drop y'all Super Bowl picks on a video on YouTube. Let us know y'all got. Y'all can even drop the score as well, man. Any last words from Trey?
Nah, man. Look, just go Spurs, go. Be back in action tomorrow.
Come on, man. Heard that. Swiper and the alien. Gotta love it. We out.